from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou. Sponsored by Kathy Stanton Manulife Securities. Get expert financial advice and peace of mind today.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. There are about 70 distinct Indigenous languages in Canada, falling into 10 separate language families. While in many places there have been a decrease in transmission of these languages from one generation to the next, recognition of this has led to efforts by Indigenous peoples to revitalize and sustain their languages. We begin today's Open Connection with lawyer, activist, and renowned keeper of traditional and cultural practices, Germaine Tremmel.
My nation is Hunkapapa, Lakotas, and many people know them as Sioux, but we are Lakota and Hunkapapa from the Standing Rock Reservation, and I actually come from I was born and raised where the killing site of Sitting Bull, Chief Sitting Bull, and I'm a descendant of Chief Sitting Bull. And one of the areas of Standing Rock that has, I guess, fighting the reservation system is where they placed us, where he was born on the Grand River. So I was raised in that area between what is known as Little Eagle and Bullhead, but the area was called Little Oak Creek. And we lived out there. I was raised by grandmas and grandpas, the elders. So I was considered to be what they call an elder's child, you know. And I was raised with a lot of knowledge that was very traditional. I come from a very traditional family. I'm a fluent speaker of Lakota and Dakota. And I translate, I read and write. I'm an instructor of the language. I have I started an immersion school which is called Grow Your Own Dakota Eapi, which now we have instructors of our own that we grew up, that we raised in the language, immersed them. Mm-hmm. And so now we're fortunate to have a new generation of what we call fluent speakers, so we can have a conversation with them. And it's different than academia, especially the language, because it's not the way that I was raised. I was raised in a different environment and our words are different. And academia is changing that, because now, like for picture, we'd have to have a word for picture, translate picture, and so it's different. So what the language, the academia is doing is when we speak, we put the action verb first and then descriptive, okay, of what it does and why. But in English way, academia, it's straight English. So when you have, like, I'll say a last name of Black Fox, okay, fox would go first traditionally, because that's the animal, right? And then the color, black, sapa, okay? And Shugmanidu is fox, okay? Shugmanidu is several animals, okay? But we say Shugmanidu has sapa, which means black fox in our original language. But they're saying sapa Shugmanidu, which is black fox, which is the colonial English way of saying it. So a lot of it is going back to that, and as an instructor and a fluent speaker, we're seeing our language change. Mm-hmm. And it's not the same, and we know that language evolves, you know, it does change. But in this manner of changing, it's confusing, where even the older ones are not understanding the younger ones. So when I speak to my family members, we speak the old way, the original way, you know, just like a relative, back and forth, we can speak. But in the newer way, the new young ones that are coming out of college and universities and all, they're not speaking right. And it's offensive now. It's very offensive. So what we're encouraging with the movement of Standing Rock was take our people, certain family members, out of the dynamics of their home that have the language in it, even one fluent speaker, and put them in a course that is traditional, and put them in that environment of way they can speak freely back and forth, not academia way, but traditional in a home life, and how you would relate that way. And in doing that at the Standing Rock camp, that's what happened. We started a school there, language school. My nieces and my brothers, we all are fluent speakers. And so my nieces said, well, let's bring the language back. So that's how they did it. So then even at camp, we had a language school. And it was amazing because we had a clinic. We had doctors there. My daughter was one of them, and she was helping with diabetics. And we had a pump station for water. We had wood. I mean, it was self-sustaining, you know. And I was very proud of Očhéthi, Šakówiŋ, and Sacred Stone and Sichangu. Those were the 3 camps.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. Respect Our Water is an Indigenous youth group that formed to oppose the pipeline. They've been very active in raising public awareness through social media, petitions, teach-ins, rallies, and videos. In May 2016, 13-year-old Anna Lee Rain Yellowhammer and 30 young people launched a petition to oppose the pipeline. Let us return to the conversation as Germain Tremmel shares what happened when the youth decided to take a message to then-President Obama.
That's one of the reasons why I feel it's necessary to talk about this now, because we're going in 4 years now from Standing Rock. And I do believe that the truth needs to be told. The Standing Rock movement started from the youth, the young ones. They wanted to run. They wanted to deliver a message to President Obama because he came to Standing Rock. He came to Cannonball, see, and he made a presentation there. When you do that, that's an ally you make, okay? So they wanted to take that message back, their message back to Washington, D.C., to him and his wife, and tell them we don't want the black snake, because the black snake was a prophecy. We all grew up knowing that one day we'd be fighting that. But also the other prophecy, because we've been having these prophecy meetings, many of our bands coming together, of the Očhéthi Šakówiŋ. The Očhéthi Šakówiŋ means the 7 sacred campfires, okay? And that's very, not only, it's a governance, it's our government, our traditional government, the Očhéthi. And one of the things is that you are not elected, you are appointed based on your deeds and yourself as a self-servant to the people. You serve the people, you don't serve yourself. And so a lot of people think it's a grandiose position. It's not. And it's not about being a chieftain or a chief or all these titles. That isn't what it was about. It was about being a relative. And one of the things that we emulated at the camp was, come in, welcome home. You get greeted that way at the gate, welcome home. You get smudged. Your vehicle, your people get smudged. Take the good medicine in, leave that old stuff out. Come in. We have food. We have places for you to sleep. Get a tent. You see, feel safe here. This is good. There's medicines over there. There's elders over there to help you. You see, and that's the way we were raised. You could go to anybody's house and you'll get food. They'll feed you right away. You see, they give you water, they give you coffee, they give you these things, see. They make you feel comfortable, welcomed. And that's what the Očhéthi Šakówiŋ did. The camps did that. They had food, constant cooking. And it was good because it was all traditional foods too. There was lots of good foods there. And it was able to express, but also to taste other nations' foods. The Sami people came in with their food, reindeer meat, never had it. You know, so it was good to have these experiences. So the movement brought a lot. Standing Rock brought it to the world. It wasn't just us. It was for everyone to see that, yes, the fear was always that we could not unite. But we did. We did under a commonality. It was a struggle, but we came under one auspice of prayer, peace. Because of the stereotypes of racism that's against us, the stigmas that we have to live through as Native people, that's over with now. We're educated, right? We have education, but we still have many of our people that know the old ways. But how do we tap into those old ways? We have to create an environment for it to grow, to develop it and grow, and that's what we did. And so it was an encouragement to our people, not only our nation, but other nations that came and joined us. And they took it home. And they seen their struggles at home. And they took those learnings and teachings and implemented in their own people. And it's been good. One of the things that we did do, and I'm so proud of all of our people, all of our nations that came in and assisted and became allies with us, we kept it grassroots. You see? And one of the things is that main media didn't get it. It was all our indigenous peoples, all our indigenous relatives that knew this way of how to document or how to film or how to, put it out there with even drones, drone videos. I mean, this was all new to us. So we at Standing Rock as tribal members, we learned sustainability that was outside world, And I have an incident I gotta share with you. By the grandmas, my grandmas, they don't know their phones very well. So, hey, my phone went dead. Everybody was like, can you hear me now? And it was really crazy because we were on Facebook Hill, and so I went over and there was this guy on this bike. He was really going and going and going. And he was just really going, having fun, smiling, and he had all these phones hooked up. What is this? What is this? And he said, oh, if you want your phone charged, he said, I can charge it. Huh? How? And he said, I'm riding. And he's looking at his miles and he's riding this bike and it's hooked up to batteries and everything. And he's charging phones. It's a big charger on this table. Grandma, come here. I said, huh? She came over. Here, hook your phone up. You charge up. After he got on there and he was, okay, Grandma, I'm ready. And he charged her phone. Ma, how's it? But we learned how to do that without any other source.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. In recent years, the term third world country has come to define countries that have high poverty rates, economic instability, and lack of basic human necessities like access to water, shelter, or food for its citizens. These countries are often underdeveloped, and in addition to widespread poverty, they also have high mortality rates. Let us return to the conversation as Germain Tremmel shares how this label is sometimes used when talking about U.S. reservations.
Reservation life is different. It's like a closed world, third, fourth, fifth world, whatever you want to call it. And the outside world doesn't come in very much because they don't know about us. And it's all fear-based because we don't know each other, see? So what we did was we demystified it, that fear. Come in, relative. You're welcome home. Oh. I mean, I'm a veteran and I wasn't even greeted at home when I came home like that. But it felt good for me to be greeted at home by my own people when I walked through that gate to say welcome home. It meant a lot to me, for me. It was beautiful. That movement was, there was learnings on both sides. There was teachings on both sides. And that's one of the reasons why I really support this particular organization, Indian People's Action. And the reasoning is that I met the director, Michael Lynn, out to Standing Rock at the healing ceremony. And it was beautiful because she kept it grassroots to the people, so the people can own this, see? And that's the one thing that I really push for. And that I believe is sovereignty, see, is indigenous, is sovereignty is when you can own something yourself and be a part of something that comes from your ideas and your thoughts and your thinking and what you know, sharing. I don't own this knowledge. This was given to me by a blessing of the Creator where I was placed in a home that shared this knowledge. And I can't own it. I can't keep it. I have to pass that on, see? And as a traditionalist, that's how we know. We are taught that. You can't keep this information. Give it to them. And that's what we did when we were at Standing Rock. We lit the 7th fire now. So we are now in the 7th generation, and we gave that now, that right. We passed it now to the 7th generation. So now we're in that. We're in the youth. They say, a prophecy says that one day, it is going to be a test to us that one day we will be led by a light-haired, light-eyed, light-skinned child. What are we going to do? Are we going to hold back our teachings because this child is different? Or are we going to embrace this child and teach this child all that we know so this child can lead us? Well, look at the children today. They're leading. They're standing up. They're saying it, whether it's environment, whether it's the earth, whether it's land issues, whether it's criminalization, whether it's arts and crafts or whatever they call it nowadays, you know, the creativeness, you know. But it's a learning. We're learning as elders from them because the interpretation is coming back to us. We gave them, we taught them, go out, do this now. You have our blessing. How you do it is going to be up to you. Maybe we may not agree, but that's okay. There's a reason for that. There's a reason that this is happening and the way it's going. So we're in that 7th generation of prophecy today. And that's why I really support this organization, because it kept grassroots, it kept the truth, and it kept the men and the women and the children united. And that's one of the things that I admire about them. And I really came here as a relative to support and help and assist in what I know as a traditionalist grandmother, and hoping that that will continue on. That will help our young people continue. Because one of the things that, as a lawyer, I'm also a lawyer, and I see a lot of cases. I've handled many cases in the tribes that children are taken away. So now our family is being attacked, our family unit. And so we're seeing that, where it's through criminalization. And so what we want to do is bring that forward, but we want to change that paradigm. We want to change that dynamics now. And we need to get that mentality away by pulling our people out and caring for them now. But in order to do, if we remove them out of that area of criminalization, we got to help them heal from that. But we also have to put something back in place in them, that belonging. That's what's lacking, is that belonging.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Since the early 1900s, grassroots movements have been widespread. Major examples include parts of the American Civil Rights Movement of the 1950s and 1960s, Brazil's land equity movement of the 1970s and beyond, the Chinese rural democracy movement of the 1980s, and the German peace movement of the 1980s. In this final segment of Open Connection, Germaine Tremmel shares her thoughts about grassroots.
And so one of the things that I truly believe in is supporting grassroots, the true grassroots, not the kind that's out there promoting glorification, self, whatever, you know. I don't believe in that, because it doesn't come back to the people. And it's the people that get hurt when they see this. And so I'm really looking at that, and as not only as an attorney, I want our families to come together, back together. But in order to do that, we need to heal, but we need to make that belonging too for them, that place, that safe space. And that's what actually Standing Rock did. It created the safe space, created where people could be creative and their real self, their truth, be able of their true spirit come out and be able to say, this is what I want to be, and not be ashamed no more. We've lived through generations of trauma, and that's a shame. That's the shame that we've been put through. That's got to end. But how is it going to end if we don't do something for ourselves? See, we need to do it. We need to come from that part. And we do have the tools, the skills, and the people there. But we have to ask in a right way. See, and once we do that, and we ask in a right way, in a good way, the teachings come, and the teachings will be practiced. The black snake prophecy was told many, many years ago, even with my grandmother. My great-grandmother was 106 years old when she passed away. And they talked about this, the elders. They always said, one day, and they meant me and my cousins, you're going to see the black snake come through. I was like, well, what's the black snake? We didn't know what the black snake was at the time. It can take many shapes. Okay, what kind of shapes is it going to take? You know, and we were like, there were stories about it, you know, about the attacks that were happening to us at the time. Relocation, that was one. The acculturation where we couldn't do our ceremonies, that was one. Another one was our language couldn't be spoken, we were beaten, and that was in boarding school, that happened. So it all led to the main thing of the black snake, of diminishment of our culture. We would disappear. If the black snake came through, that means our culture, we would die because it's poison. And it was like, we knew, we understood then. So keep the water safe, keep the land safe. So we continue to have food growing in our land. Many of our medicines will disappear. They will leave us. And we will have to remember what medicines the alternative medicines are. Do you know what medicines or what trees or what plants hold water if you need water one day? How are you going to get that water? This is how they told us. So we had to go with the grandmas, and they taught us by the river what plants grow, how to take the water out, or what has oil in it to make oil lamps, what has water in it, what has both in it, what has medicine. So we learned that. And so on the river, we learned what the flow of the river means even, and how it changes, how the flow changes, and the seasons, how the salmon or the fish come up to spawn. See, even that we had to study, because they leave their oil on some of the plants and in the mud, and the mud goes into the plant. It sucks it up, and wow, we're really eating fish oil, you know, and it's like that. You learn these things as a young child, and that's how I grew up. And my daughter too, my oldest daughter, remembers it. She said, I remember what Grandma taught us. And I said, yes. Well, do you think we can clean the water? I said, well, she did tell us for a reason. The black snake was coming, and this was it, to contaminate our water and our soil. And we will die from it if we allow it to happen. And so that's where we found out about the prophecy that Grandma told us, and it came true. I never thought in my lifetime I would be seeing it or witnessing it. It just didn't make sense to me, and I did. I witnessed it, and I you know, it sometimes overwhelms me that Grandma told me this 60-some years ago, 70-some years ago, and it came to pass in that short time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind to his heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.